Hello again, beer fans. We're here with another offering from Dogfish Head, the Chateau Jiahu. They are advertising this as the oldest brew ever. It was discovered by anthropologists or archaeologists, I think maybe. And the recipe is evidently not, or the molecular nature of it, because they have to analyze the molecules and see what they would have put in it. Or that form this recipe is basically 9,000 years old, and Dogfish Head has had a lot of success rebrewing these ancient ales that use very different ingredients and styles than today. And this is the oldest one yet. I don't think I've reviewed these before, but I typically tend to be ambivalent to these. I like to try them just to see where we came from, but I never usually buy them twice because I find that they're very expensive, and typically with Dogfish Head, the more experimental they get, the worse it gets. I think they do IPAs and that kind of stuff extraordinarily well. They do what they do very well. Any kind of straight beer or beer with one adjunct, they're going to do great. But sometimes with these more experimental ones, I find that they're just not as good. This is why we probably don't brew like we used to anymore. But anyway, this has some interesting ingredients. This has grape, rice, sake malt, I think they said. They've got some fruit in there for the bitterness, I'm assuming, some honey. And you can see we've got some carbonation there, and kind of a orange pinkish color. The smell is interesting, almost peachy in a way, heavily carbonated. Kind of almost smells like maybe raspberries. What I'm getting. It's certainly fruit. Honestly, it's probably a grape. You know. And the grape's the most pronounced thing there. And the rice, of course, as you know, isn't going to add much flavor to it. Yeah. Predominantly grape, with kind of maybe a sake finish or something like that. This is 10%, and it covers that well. It's very crisp for that amount of alcohol. Very crisp, but not very flavorful, really. The flavor is kind of very much hits you and then it's gone. Probably because of the bittering agent, which I think is probably these berries, his hawthorn fruit, whatever they're using, doesn't have quite as much kick as probably hops do. But it's not really bad. I mean, it's pretty tasty in truth. Although this thing I think costs $13, not at all worth that. Although again, to try it, you know, that's something different. But in contrast to say the last one I removed, the Namasta or whatever, however you pronounce it, I think that tastes better. This is just very surprisingly, I mean, again, for the alcohol content, surprisingly light. In fact, shockingly light. Probably the rice. Again, much like sake, doesn't typically have as much, all that much flavor. With sake, you want something very crisp. If you don't put in, say, a cedar box for a cheaper one. But typically with sake, you want, a very crisp, clean kind of taste. and obviously in rice beer, so it's kind of what you're getting. And I think this is probably, the rice is probably doing that. And then the grape comes in behind that. And so it's kind of like clean and then out. And you drink it, you're kind of like, ooh, that's pretty good. There, it's gone. So, if you're into trying different styles, this might be one to check out. If not, on its flavor alone, I don't think this is worth trying. On the flavor alone. And it goes with, I think, a long list of Dogfish Head offerings of novelty offerings that really aren't that great at beer. And I wonder at times if they're going to damage their brand to some extent, because while they're doing, I think, very interesting things, and I try to support them and try to, have it. Dogfish Head, in contrast to, say, Stone, which you guys know is one of my favorite. With Stone, I know every time I buy a Stone, whatever it is, it's going to be excellent. With Dogfish Head, I know it's going to be interesting, and I wonder sometimes if that's going to hurt Dogfish Head. That you just don't. They're not Magic Hat, where everything's got to be a novelty beer, and that's all Magic Hat does is experimental beers and novelty beers. They've still got their main lines, which are high quality, but I just wonder sometimes, because again, I can't really, go, you gotta try this, man, as I would like to. I have to kind of say, if you're into trying these kind of novelty things, maybe this might be worth trying, worth the price. But again, it's not. It doesn't taste bad. It tastes good. It's not a mind blowing thing. But again, if you were 9th century, I guess 7,000 BC, China, and someone poured this for you, I guess you'd be pretty happy with it. And that's something to be said. And again, I think it's great that Dogfish Head is rediscovering these old methods and doing such great historical work on this and working with such interesting people. And so, I support it. I question it as a business strategy. Anyway, that's all I got. Mediocre to good. I'll see ya.